Hi, everyone, and welcome to the special simulcast of the Neil Haley Show and Celebrity Interviews live from the Grotto with Greg Hanna. Greg, what's going on, man? How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, Neil. I can't wait to talk to our guest.
Absolutely. Big fan of Don Most. We know him from so many different projects, and then we're going to talk about his music. And Greg, as you were talking off air in the green room, you just remember so many memories growing up watching him.
Oh, yeah. With all of his friends, hanging out at his best friend's house and going down to the shop and hanging out with, people we can't talk about, but pretty amazing stuff. It was incredible. It was just one of my favorite times of growing up is, between the mid 70s and mid 80s, watching Don and his pals. Yeah.
Yeah, Don, wouldn't you think, isn't that like crazy to think about just how it just lives on? A lot of your projects still live on all the time and people just watch it.
Yeah, it is amazing. Because it's been a long time, and they, have been playing that show for a very long time. So, and now it's all these years later, and with all the streaming channels, there's a bunch of opportunities to still watch the show, and younger generations are being still, introduced to it. So it's pretty cool.
All right, go, Greg, with questions for Don.
Yeah. Well, Don's been doing a lot of amazing things besides acting. Music for sure, right? You did some directing. I'd love to hear about either one of those. Which one do you want to talk about first?
Well, I guess we could talk about the directing and then and then segue into the music. Maybe that's cool.
Yeah.
On the directing, I don't know if I'm allowed to mention the names of the projects I've done, but people could look up on IMDb if you're familiar with that. IMDb.com. It's the Internet Movie Database, and you could look up anyone, the actor, director, producer, and you could see what they've done, and sort of in chronological order. So I've done 3 independent films as a director, and I really enjoyed that. It's been a while. I've got some new projects I'm trying to get going so I could direct again. But if people look up, uh, like I said, they'll see the titles of the ones that I worked on as a director. One was a very heavy drama, a pretty powerful drama, which people might not have expected, but that's what I enjoy doing. All styles, whether not just comedy, and as an actor and or director. And then the second one was more of a comedy. It got a little more serious towards the end, but it was definitely more of a comedy. So yeah, people could check them out. They'll see the names and be able to find them on Tubi and Amazon, all the usual suspects. So yeah, the directing was a great experience.
Did you learn a lot from the experience, with that unbelievable cast of friends? How to become a director, learning the process, being behind the scenes on watching all this action happen with so many geniuses on that set, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There was so much talent. Um, not only the cast, which was fab. I mean, everyone was fabulous. But our director was a comic genius director by the name of Jerry Paris, and he started as an actor himself. And getting to watch Jerry, and you talk to Ron Howard, he'll tell you how much, you know, what a great influence Jerry was on him as a director. Um, and so we learned a tremendous amount from just working with him, and watching it. If I wasn't in a scene, or if I wasn't, if I had the ability the first 2 years we were shooting it like a movie. So if I was done for the day, I could sit, and I would sit and watch a lot of the other scenes, even though I could go home. I just wanted to soak it all in. And then of course Gary Marshall was our executive producer, and Gary directed a bunch of our episodes, and then I had the opportunity to work with some other great directors too. And I got to work with Jonathan. We were on the road and worked real closely. He loved collaborating with the actors. And so, that experience was a tremendous one. And then I got to work with Ron when Ron wanted to prove that he could direct. He asked me if he had an idea, and he said, wanted to know if I'd like to develop the idea, and we could turn it into a script. And he wanted me to play the lead, and we'd shoot it sort of on weekends because we were working on during the week. So we did, and we got about halfway through the film, and then Ron got an assignment to direct his first film for Roger Corman, coincidentally. So I worked with Ron very closely in that capacity before he really was before he started officially directing. So yes, I've had the great opportunity to learn from so many talented people.
Mm. Well, one thing that I kind of remember was, around the time that your show was really taking off, and actually probably midway through, Harrison Ford and Suzanne Summers movie, came out, and did you feel that like added even more interest? To your show, did it kind of accelerate it, more fans? And
well, the timing actually was, it's interesting. Gary did a pilot back originally in 71, I think it was, with Ron Howard and Anson Williams playing those same parts. But it didn't sell. I think Marion was in it as the mom, but it was a different father, a different daughter. There was no Ralph, there was no Fonzie, and it didn't sell. So then what happened was ABC is like, remember, well, wait a minute, we had a pilot about the 50s. Didn't we? So they went back to Gary and said, we'd like to redo the pilot because the original pilot was softer. And they didn't even know if Ron and Anson, they thought they might be too old to play those roles. And Gary was like, no, they could still do it. But the network made Gary screen test them, and along with a bunch of other hopefuls like myself. So I was screen testing for Potsy. But then Anson and Ron obviously still got cast again. And then the executives told my agent they liked my screen test so much they wanted to put me in the show, and they would create a character for me. And there was a small character had a small part in the pilot, and they said, we'll give that to him and that'll grow, and he'll be a regular character. So that's how that happened. But in answer to your original question, sorry for digressing, for some people, it might have, depending on the timing of when they watched it, and kind of influenced how our show, the direction our show went.
Excellent.
Oh, that's really interesting information. It's really cool to understand and how things develop and how it became popular. Like Greg, I would never have thought a show in the 50s would be popular in the 70s, right? But I guess we saw that in other shows later on. That was the first to do it. Then you look at the Waltons, you look at all these other shows, they did the same thing. It was placed in a different time period. And it really turned out well. And it taught family values. I think that's the thing that I really like about that show, Don, is the family values that people are still watching, that there was respect, there was different things. They took things that are teaching people still today about family life and everything, and respect.
Definitely. Yes, that's true. The show did always have, it was a show that the family could watch together and really enjoy and feel comfortable. And Gary, I think that was a real one of the great things he did. I don't know if I appreciated it at the time as much, but he always wanted to have, without beating it over your head and being too preachy, something that represented those values that you're talking about and that supported that. And wove it into the show so that there was some meaning. At the end of it, you felt good about uh, how the characters went through what they went through and what they learned and what we were imparting to the audience. There was, like when they saw what kind of influence. Here's an example like that Fonzie had. So they put in an episode where Fonzie was going to get a library card, and he'd never known about, had never experienced that. And it's like, wow, you can go in and get any of these books, and so he got his library card. And then I think they said the number of people that were getting library cards had increased by like, some ridiculous amount of people now going and getting library cards. So I mean, that's just one example of instilling something, that, like you talked about, that had something um, that you would look up to, that you would want your kids to know and to be exposed to. And if you look at some of those episodes, you could really see how it was woven in there, but in a way that it was funny, it was still entertaining, and it wasn't preachy or anything like that.
Yeah. Wow. Do you guys still keep in touch with the cast? And do you guys
Oh
still
yeah.
friends or? Yeah.
Oh, definitely. I just spoke with Anson yesterday, and we talk all the time. We're best friends, and I've been in touch with Ron and Henry lately. I mean, we have been, and that's continuing. I'm actually going to see Henry on Saturday because he's doing a tour for not his new book, some other book,
I think there's
and
a
he's
new
got,
book coming out. There's a new book coming out for him. I think that's potentially because I saw that in an advertisement when I was seeing.
yeah. Yeah, he's got a memoir that's coming out, but he's also out touring some other children's book that he wrote with somebody else. And he's going to be I'm in Colorado now, and he's going to be near me. So we're going to get together. It'll be great to see him. So yeah, definitely we stay in touch.
Fantastic. Let's talk about the music now. Let's go with
Yeah,
congrats on the Grammy potential thing. So kind of go into that. Yeah.
yeah. This the CD that just came out. It's called New York High, and it's comprised. I had a CD about 6 years ago, that another one that's jazz standards and big band kind of swing, and all the great, some of the great American songbook tunes, and it was called Mostly Swinging, and it was a really great experience, and wonderful musicians, and really turned out well. But I just did another one. We're still doing some of the jazz standards, but with a little more of a contemporary jazz feel as opposed to the big band, and turned out great. And it's what I'm excited about is it made the Grammy ballot as album of the year it's in a category called traditional pop, which is the kind of music that I'm talking about. And so it got on the to get on the ballot is a big deal. And the Academy, the voters for the Grammys, they're all this week, I think, is they're voting, and it'll get down to the final, five, and hopefully mine makes that, and then I'd be nominated. So if anybody out there is or knows any voting members of the Grammys, uh, I urge you or encourage you to listen to my album and for your consideration. People can get the album on iTunes and Spotify, Apple Music, and all of those platforms. So I'm excited. Just getting to this stage was really cool, and we'll see what happens.
What was like the big inspiration behind this particular album for you?
Um, I don't know if that there was what the way it transpired was somebody that I really met online, um, and he was friends with a record producer, pretty guy who's very accomplished, and he said, "I think you two should meet." He said, "I think uh, it'd be great for both of you." And it turns out he's in the Nashville area, but he was coming out to LA for something. So we met, we had lunch, talked about music, and he heard my previous album, liked what I was doing, and said, "Yeah, let's." It was his idea that we should do this one with a little bit more of a contemporary jazz setting, and I really enjoyed working with him. We took a lot of time picking out the songs, and then he had a great guitar player arranger that he worked with to set the sort of form for each song and what the arrangement would be. And they had great musicians, and it was awesome, a great experience, and it turned out really well. As a matter of fact, um, the album's called New York High, but there's also a single track on the album called New York High, and it was released in the UK last month. They wanted to release it there first, at official release, and it's on this chart called the Heritage Chart, and it's moving up. It's like way up there in the charts right now in the UK. So that's kind of cool. And so we'll see what happens over here. You know, hopefully it'll do similar kind of action here.
All right. That's great. Thanks. Now, Greg has a final question for you, Don, and he asks all our celebrities this question. Go ahead, Greg.
Yeah. So this is an important one for me so that I can improve my own life, but also more importantly for the people that hopefully get an opportunity to watch this interview with you, Don, since you're such an inspiring character and, you know, touched so many people over the years. So Don,
Well, thank you.
you're welcome. What's the most important thing in life you feel you've ever learned?
Oh my gosh. Most important thing in life I've ever learned. Oh, that's a heavy question. Um, I would say the importance of family and and uh, and keeping yourself healthy. Family and health. Those
Excellent.
are those are two things that are hitting me right now. You know, you asked me the same question a year from now, maybe they would still be up there, but there might be another new one. You know, I don't know. But right now, that's what's hitting me.
Yeah, that's why you're no longer in LA. That's different, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes, exactly. That's why I'm in Colorado, to be near my daughter who just had a baby girl, and my wife and I are now grandparents for the first time, and we wanted to be
that's
close to
fantastic.
them.
Congrats.
Yeah.
And then so can you still, based on, are you going to be doing more directing still and be able to do any acting, or more directing now later in your career?
No, probably more. Hope some directing, but probably more acting. I've done more films in the last 3 years than I'd done the previous 10. I'm really busy. I think about 7 films in the last 2 years, and I even just worked on one 2 months ago, no, a month ago, because it was a small independent film, and we had a waiver from SAG. We were allowed to shoot. So I see a lot more, hopefully a lot more films in the future on
I
with
think we
acting.
will. That's
Yeah.
fantastic, Don. Once this gets through, I can't wait. I'll be celebrating for sure, because television and movies are being hurt by this. But it's
Yeah.
one thing that's the only plus is Netflix is getting certain series that did really well that they stopped showing, meaning like on some other network, and Netflix is thinking of picking some of them up because of the popularity. Because
Oh,
now people are watching older films, older movies, and they're like, "Oh, we love these." And now opportunities are coming. So I just think it's going to
yeah,
be a huge thing for you guys once it's over. So I'm hoping,
yeah,
yeah, let's keep
yeah.
our fingers crossed by the end of the year. It's over.
I
That's my
sure, I sure hope so. Yeah, let's put that out there.
I'm putting it
It's,
out to the universe. It's going to happen. All right, Tom, best place you can find information on you. Where's the best place for you?
um, I have a website, realdonnymos.com, but I'm woefully behind in keeping it updated. I would say probably even better is to go to Facebook, Don Most, or Instagram, Don Most One, or Twitter, which is at most_Don. Those places would be good.
We appreciate it, Don. Greg, this is fun. This is a lot of fun. We're definitely going to have a part 2 soon. Appreciate it, guys.
Oh, great being with you again, Neil, and Greg, nice meeting you, and thanks for having me.
All right, that was a special simulcast of the Neil Haley Show and Celebrity Interviews live from the Grotto. Greg Hanna. Take care, guys.